Hi YouTube, this is Dave following up on our 2012 Suzuki Kizashi story. If you saw the post teardown video I had on this, you'll know that the engine suffered a major overheat. This head is severely warped and was beyond realm of reconditioning to use it again. Saw some internet folks that suggested heating it and basically sandpapering down the head, things like that. Didn't want to go that route. Again, this is my daughter's car. She lives a couple hours away, and that just wasn't in the midst of trying to fix this thing permanently. So went on the internet and could only find new heads. The couple different companies do remanufacture these, but no one had them in stock, and I think pretty much no one was interested in taking it on. And it was like, I think somewhere in the neighborhood of $800 if you could find one. So searching for a new one. Suzuki does make them. All in, taxes, delivery, all that was going to be just south of $3,000. I believe the head itself retails for about $2,500. That just wasn't in the midst for this car. The value just isn't high enough to warrant putting several $1,000s into this car. So this is a new head I found on Alibaba. The name of the seller is AGO or AGO. It took 21 working days to be delivered to my house here in Florida from China. It was $350 plus $50 in shipping, if I remember correctly. So $400 for the bare head. It did come what appears to be fully machined. It did come with all the shavings still in the water pockets, so that after they do the machining, they don't clean the head very well. So again, certainly not a negative comment on it. It's to be expected for something that still needs some final work on it anyway. So received it. I did lap new valves. I did buy, like, again, all new valves, new keepers, but I am reusing the old springs just to try to keep the budget somewhat in the realm of sanity for this car. Pretty much everything that had to come off the car, I am replacing new if it's a wear item. Things like the idler, any seals, water pump. I am replacing the radiator. Again, anything that overheated, was a component of the cooling system, is being replaced new. Again, to try to fix this. So all in parts, I'm just around $1,500. So it's not cheap, but I'm quite hopeful that this will give this car a second life. So I'm going to start reassembly the head. I did lap the valves already, gave the head a really good cleaning, and we're going to start reassembly of the head, and then I will get into reassembly of the motor. I'm not going to record all the various assembly components, like putting the valves in. There's plenty of other videos on the internet, and this really should be more focused on what's the process for putting a J24B back together. Okay, it's been a little while. I obviously got the head reassembled, the valves, the keepers, all that. I had the dowels switched over. There's also a passage here that's under the first cam hold down. There's a passage here that has like an oil restrictor in it. The new head did come with, it's like a threaded dowel with a very small hole in it. I took one out of the old head and checked the diameter, the inside diameter of it, and they're pretty close, best I could tell. Maybe it's like a 7/64 hole. So like I said, the head came with a new one. I installed that, and I started torquing the head bolts down. The 10 main head bolts. I did get new head bolts. Like I said, everything, as much as I could, is new. Couple notes. I think I found perhaps what could have caused the problem of the overheating. This is the water outlet. I just installed a new gasket in it, and I've got some aviation gasket maker in there just to help hold it in place. But you see how there's like a relief down here? The old gasket was separated right here, and it had the appearance of coolant that had dripped down. Like I said, I cleaned it up, and this is a new gasket, so you really can't see it anymore. But again, I don't drive this car, and it's not even here at the house other than working on it. So can't verify that's what happened, but this gasket had separated. And this is the new one. Here it is. That's the part number. I believe I got it on Rock Auto. It's 3 bolts that just take this off, and then you can swap out that gasket. I'm guessing what happened is that this gasket started to leak. The coolant obviously started to leak out and caused the overheating, which then basically destroyed the engine. So I don't remember if this thing was like $8 or something like that. They're a little hard to come by. Could not find them on Amazon, but probably really safe insurance. If you haven't changed this gasket out, I would do so. At this point, this one was 12 years old, and it let go. So at least I think I found the smoking gun as to what killed this thing. And a lot of labor, but in $1,500 in parts. Okay, we did the 15 foot-pound in the sequence, and then the 29, and I've got my gauge set up, and we're going to go do the 60 degrees now all the way around, and then when we're done with that, we'll go back and we'll take it to 80 degrees, and it'll be fully torqued. So here's pretty much everything that was replaced. Obviously the head, all the valves, those aren't on the parts list, but these came from Amazon. It was a complete kit of the valves themselves, just the intake and the exhaust. Also replaced the head bolts. Not 100% certain if these can be reused, but again, I wasn't going to get to this point and take a chance on the bolts. I think it was, those are on the list. I don't remember what they cost, but new bolts. Timing chain kit, got something off of Amazon. That was like the best I could find. Tensioner, water pump, sending unit, thermostat, radiator cap, basically anything that looked like it got way too hot, just being replaced. Belt, pulleys, tensioner, obviously gaskets. This big one is the one that goes between the exhaust and the catalytic converter that was in the master kit. And then the heater hoses, which I'll get to in a second. Couple of things I would say probably what caused this thing to overheat initially. When I did the disassembly, and as I was kind of replacing things and looking for what had gone wrong, the top of the CVT, sorry, I can barely make it out, but way down at the bottom, the top of the aluminum, way down there. You can kind of see it has evidence of what looked like, hot coolant had sprayed all over it. And there was still some coolant on it. And like I said, it kind of looked like it had some staining from hot coolant spraying on it. The gasket that's behind this outlet, you can barely see, there's a little nub of it to show that it's, I guess, in the right spot. This thing is more or less this shape, but it's a black O-ring shape. It's not a paper gasket like that. It's more of an O-ring style in this application. The bottom of it, so similar to like right there, the bottom of it where there's a little line that sticks down, it goes through the housing like you saw on the top. It looked like it might have blown out. The O-ring, if you will, was partially torn. I don't think that was from when I took it apart. So it may have been failing, or it did fail, or was just on the verge of failing. So I I had seen where you could buy this independently. Like I said, this is the wrong one, but it was like $16. I think that O-ring one, it's available in Rock Auto. I think it was like $8. You will lose, obviously, all the coolant. So I would highly recommend changing that. I mean, you take the air box out. There's 2 nuts and then a bolt on this side, and this thing can pull right off, and you can swap that out and put a new one on. If you don't know if that's been replaced, or it has not been replaced, I would highly recommend that get done, because I was actually surprised in how bad of a condition that one was in. I've never seen one just basically deteriorate. The other smoking gun, and what I think is really the point of failure for this motor, was the heater hose. And I've been working on engines for over 40 years, and I have never said that before, that the heater hose took the engine out. It certainly makes sense, but again, I've never seen a heater hose just completely fail. So there's the heater on that outlet. There's a 2 5/8 lines that run to the heater core, which are back here on the firewall, and then there's a small like 5/16 line which runs to the throttle body. The old ones are here. This is the one that I think killed the motor. This is the side that goes to the water outlet. So if you're looking at it, that's the firewall side. This is the where it connects to the water outlet. You can see the swelling, and you can see that split. That is completely failed. And I mean, the whole thing, if there was a way you guys could feel this thing, it had completely failed. The other one, I mean, I had cut it to get it off, but when I was pulling it apart, it just literally came apart. I've never seen anything like this. I mean, obviously, it's got about 120,000 miles on it, so they're not new, but these are really bad. I'm certain, I'm absolutely certain this is what killed the engine. This failed, caused a leak, and again, maybe that gasket was leaking too, but this is a major leak. This is maybe a 1/2 inch wide. Engine's under pressure. It starts losing coolant, starts to overheat. That's probably where my daughter saw the white smoke, was probably the steam of it coming out there. Unfortunately, she didn't shut it off, and engine head the volume of the coolant in the engine went down enough that the engine was running with essentially no coolant in the head. It overheated, warped to the point where it crowned up, and loss of compression permanently, which caused the engine to quit and never start again with that head on it. So, long story short, what to do with these things? I would start with replacing that gasket, about $8, and those 2 heater hoses. I could get them new. Again, not terribly happy with the quality that these things are to begin with. I've never seen a heater hose fail in 100,000 miles to the point where they're just crumbling. It's hard to say. Maybe the engine had overheated a bunch of times, and who knows. But just went to AutoZone, got some standard bulk straight hose. I think it's like $2 a foot. I bought 6 feet just to make sure I had enough. So a whopping like $12 in heater hose, and like that $8 gasket. And I would say that out of I literally took every single thing apart on the top of this motor. Every gasket has been inspected and or replaced. And those were the 2 failure points that I saw. Everything else had either shown some evidence of being overheated, but it didn't show signs that it had failed. Those were the only failure points. So at this point, the motor is done. It's back together. I'm going to do one more. When I put it back together, obviously, new filter, new oil, and I put a motor engine flush in the oil because it had so much water in it. I had obviously drained everything out, put the flush in it to try to get any residual junk out. So one more flush of the engine oil, and then this is back, and then I'm putting I'm doing the CVT service next. I don't know what to say about these things. I don't know how confident I am that it won't happen again, but I do feel a little better that I was able to find out what the chain of events are or were. I cannot recommend enough to inspect or preferably just replace those 2 heater hoses and that gasket. You're talking less than $30, and maybe even if you're not mechanically inclined, I can't imagine it would take anybody even more than 2 hours. It's literally 3 bolts and 4 hose clamps, and you'd have the whole thing replaced. So good luck. If you have one, I mean, $1,600 is not a small amount of money to pay, but I would say also all in, I've probably got a good 20 hours into this. That's a lot more than I've ever had to spend on putting an engine back together, particularly one of this size. I did, like I said, I mean, you see, I did change out nearly everything, but the time element is also, a lot of time was spent on that front cover. It's just poor access and trying to make sure everything is right. Last thoughts are, I'm not a fan of these cars. I think they're probably one of the poorest designed automobiles I've come across, but it's what we got right now, or at least what my daughter has right now, and we'll see if we're gonna keep it, or now that it's running, just get rid of it. $1,600 for a mostly rebuilt engine is in parts is pretty steep in my opinion. for a little 4-cylinder, but as long as it's running well, hopefully it's money well spent. So again, Dave, thanks for watching, and if you're thinking about taking on a J24B, good luck. Good luck.